Welcome back to Teacher Jeff 40K. One thing I've noticed when playing against a lot of other armies is I am seriously lacking bodies. As a Space Marine player, I pay a premium for my troops, for everything pretty much, because my stuff's more skilled and more durable, but I don't have as many bodies. And this seems to be not the edition, but 8th edition is favoring hordes, massive groups of troops, whether it be guardsmen or orcs, like just clouds of orcs. We'll wait till they get their codex. It's probably going to be pretty good, but also probably pretty late. Anyhow, that's one thing I'm lacking. So I was looking through my codex, trying to find ideas of how to deal with chunks, like massive chunks of infantry, without totally refocusing my army. So being able to sort of take on all comers, dedicating more points to say things like las cannons and other stuff, while maintaining a cheap reserve of units that can effectively deal with clouds of infantry. And I would say like a bolter squad of tactical marines, not really going to cut it. It's not enough. It's not enough, especially since guardsmen and orcs and gaunts and stuff like that, they're getting an armor save against bolters now. So it's not the same thing that it used to be, where it's just like, whatever I wound, you're taking away. It's like, now whatever I wound, you have a chance to save it, and then the other ones you're taking away. So I've been looking through my codex. I found a few units. One I'd mentioned before is a bare bones unit of scout bikes. Excellent. It's 75 points, and you get a lot of strength 4 and potentially strength 5 shots. They each have twin-linked bolt guns. They each have a shotgun. They can fire both. And they each come equipped with a combat knife, which is kind of cool. It's like a chainsword. It gives them each another attack in close combat. So just more strength 4 shots stacked on there. Not bad on a toughness 5 frame for the bike. And another mention I've got to throw out there is, sorry, I cut myself off mid-sentence, Stern Guard veterans. They're a little pricier, but damn, I've had great success with the special issue ammunition. I don't give these guys any combi weapons. Forget it. Forget the points. Special issue bolt guns all the way. Only 2 points apiece. A squad of 5 with special issue bolt guns is 90 points. Not bad at all. I played against my friend the other day, and he's a guardsman player, which is one of the reasons I'm sort of met with this problem. Is a good friend of mine who I play with plays with a lot of bodies. And these guys, because of the -2 for the special bolt guns, now they just do ignore the save. Plus, you get a little extra range. It's 30-inch range instead of 24. It's really solid. And it's really fun to just like those guys, like here's 6 wounds, they're gone. Like these guys are dead. So that's fun. But another one I wanted to look at for sheer volume of fire. So not for negating the armor, but just volume and cheapness or affordability. Not cheapness, but affordability. I've put together a unit of company veterans. I love these guys. The company veterans have so many options. You can have 2 guys in a squad or 5. They're great. They've got the extra attack and leadership of the veteran stat line, and at only a 3-point increase over regular Marines. So they're 16 points a model instead of 13. And they get all these war gear options. Plus, you can give them all chainswords, and they get an extra attack each, and that's free. So I would do that with a lot of these guys. Now, I've set up some models here. So you can see on my little tray. I'm going to take a few off so it's not super confusing. Let's remove these vehicles. So this is the way I've equipped a squad of veterans. It's 109 points for this squad. It could be cheaper, and I'll show you how, but I like this. I like the way this is kitted out. So I've got 3 of them equipped with a chainsword and a storm bolter. Storm bolter is 2 points apiece, totally worth it. So 3 of them are equipped that way. Let's put these guys over there. Then one guy has got a flamethrower. And finally, the sergeant, specifically the sergeant, has a power fist and a storm bolter. Power fist, I give him just for that extra little punch. He's got 3 attacks base because he's the veteran sergeant. I wouldn't give the power fist to one of the other guys because they've only got 2 attacks. Now, what this does is this gives you 2, 4, 6, 8 storm bolter shots at maximum range and 16 storm bolter shots at 12-inch range. So that's 16 strength 4 shots coming in at 12 inches. Plus, if you're within flamer range, that's another D6 auto hits. Very cool. So that, and it's relatively cheap too. So it's the veteran cost plus the cost of the storm bolter, 1 flamer, and a power fist. So again, 109 points. Now, these guys, because they are such close range guys, need a delivery system. You saw the vehicles I had there before. A couple of options for you. The more expensive option, and again, we're not getting super expensive here because I want to keep these guys relatively cheap, but the more expensive economical option is a standard loadout Razorback with the extra storm bolter. So you keep him equipped with the twin-linked heavy bolter, and that's just more anti-infantry fire. You give these guys a delivery system, and you add another storm bolter to the mix. Now what this gives you is 1, a way to get them up faster, a little bit of protection, and a little extra firepower, all for 89 points. So all of this together, the 5 veterans inside their vehicle is just under 200 points. So it's a little steep. You could make it cheaper. Take away this guy, and instead we use a Rhino with 2 storm bolters. Rhino comes stock equipped with 1 storm bolter, but you can always add a second one. So that's 2 more storm bolters coming in. Yeah, you don't get the twin heavy bolter, but you get 2 more storm bolters. So at minimum range, if you're at 12 inches with this guy, that is another 8 shots out of him. So that's 8 shots. Let's see, how many shots is that? 16 plus 8, 24 shots. Wow. 24 bolt shots plus a flamethrower. Now, this adds a delivery system, but it is also a kind of overwatch magnet. So effectively, in an ideal scenario, you've got this guy relatively close. So you disembark your veterans and you get them close to a unit that you would like to charge. This Rhino charges first. Ideally, it gets there. If it doesn't, it's not the end of the world, but it eats the overwatch and then gets into close combat, which is great. Now, at this point, it doesn't really matter if this thing goes down. I mean, it sucks, you lose a unit, but at the same time, this thing gets in, and then your veterans go into close combat unimpeded because there's no overwatch anymore because this guy's got them locked up. So, once they're in close combat, you've got 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, because he doesn't have a chainsword, 11 more strength 4 attacks, and a power fist. Plus, you've got the attacks of this, which is not much to really write home about, but it's still enough to cause problems. And on the other side of things, if these guys get charged, or if there's a threat of them getting charged, it's almost deterred because there's so much overwatch that these guys can throw out. 1, a flamethrower, boom. Always a pain in the butt. It's auto hits. And then 4 storm bolters. So they have to be, ideally within 12 or less to charge. So you might not get the flamer, but you're still gonna get 16 shots from storm bolters. You're still gonna hurt them or even deter them from charging you at all. So that's why I kind of like these guys. Now, this loadout with the Rhino comes in at about 175, or I think it's a couple of points under that. Almost 185. So it's not bad. It's not a bad call. And it man, these guys, they do some serious damage to light infantry. They're incredibly good at it. Now, here's where it gets tricky because you could really, really, really optimize these guys for just a few more points. So let's say we take the Razorback and we take a minimally kitted out lieutenant. So I know it's a few more points. This, without the lieutenant, is about 200, almost 200. And this guy's 63 points. So it's about 260, between 255 and 260. Or no, it's just over 260. Yeah, anyhow, right around there. So it's getting into that sort of like, oh, it's a little expensive for something that you initially wanted to be cheap anti-infantry. But let's look at this for a sec. So you've got this guy that gives them transport, fire support, and protection. So speed, offense, defense, right here. These guys, anti-infantry shots, straight up. And they can get close because of this. Then you add the lieutenant into the mix. And the reason I choose a lieutenant over a captain, two reasons. One, slightly cheaper. And I realize as we start adding things to this, that gets less and less relevant because suddenly this is no longer a super economical unit. But it's still cheaper. But also rerolls to wound is far more effective in this circumstance than rerolls to hit. And I'll show you why. Rerolls to wound, one, let's say you're firing at a squad of light infantry. So you've got, let's say a squad of 10 guardsmen. So let's do some mental dice here. Squad of 10 guardsmen, let's say like 20 conscripts, okay? 20 conscripts, you gotta deal with that. They've all got the armor, 5-up armor, they've all got saves. So you got 20 conscripts, these guys are going up against them. Now, you're hitting these guys on threes, no matter what, right? But the flamer, one, it automatically hits, so that's pretty cool. But also you're rerolling ones to wound with this. Now you could say, okay, wouldn't it be better to get more, more hits first and then you can roll the wound? Sort of yes and no. If you think about it, if you try to take on other targets, so let's say something that's toughness 4 even. So you're wounding on 4s with these guys now suddenly, but you're still hitting on 3s. So you hit better, you wound worse, but your rerolls to wound of 1. So that's already very good. Now let's do this little test with the guardsmen, okay? Or the conscripts. You got 20 conscripts. And these are in optimal range to deal with those conscripts, okay? So let's say they're all within 8 inches. Now, 20 conscripts suddenly take 4, 8, 12, 16, 18, 20 bolt shots. 20 bolt shots hitting on 3s. You're losing probably, I don't know, 5 out of that. 5 or 6, let's say. So let's say you hit like 14 times and you wound on 3s. So you're losing another third there. So let's say you wound 13, you wound probably about 7 or 8, and then you reroll 1. So let's say like 10, you got 10 wounds there. He's got to make 10 saves of 5-up. He's probably losing about 7 guys, 6 or 7 guys to that. Now, you've also got the twin-linked heavy bolter throwing out shots that negate some of the armor, and you've got the sergeant or the lieutenant who's got his special issue bolt gun, which also negates a little bit of armor, and there's the flamethrower. So all told, you're probably taking out about, yeah, just more than half the squad. And then you can charge them and just rip them up in close combat with a ton of strength 4 attacks. So you have this, charge in first, and these guys don't take any overwatch. Now, it might be less wise to charge in a Razorback because you might want it for some fire support, but who knows? You just got to see how many of those guardsmen actually survive. Anyhow, I think, yeah, there's some other units that are capable of doing it, but this throws out a prime amount of strength 4 shots to just shred infantry.